point here surely has to be PSG.
Yeah, stuffed me.
Well, this was it.
But I don't think thinking they had a chance. The Moneybags team with this experience, I don't think thinking they had a chance was some stupid idea. But they've got to play. They've got to actually show up. I mean, they played better in the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
Apart from the final third, obviously, but they played. They dominated midfield over there. I just had no confidence in them tonight in the game. Add that to the fact Verratti gets sent off. Add that to the fact when you get a good chance, Mbappe doesn't square it, do the basics, then you're exposed at the back. I just never felt on tonight's performance that they looked as if they were going to get the goals.
Is it as simple as if they had Neymar, this would be different?
No. I think if you're playing Real Madrid in the Champions League, you've got to be better. You cannot afford the mistakes that PSG made. Now, you could point to Neymar absence and say a bit bad luck in that regard, but you don't give the ball away in midfield like you did Dani Alves. You're not as poor with a clearance as Rabiot was for their second goal. When you're staring down, when you're right in front of Keylor Navas and Cavani is in front of his man, you don't go for the shot. Those are just mistakes that you cannot afford to make against this Real Madrid side, or you get punished.
When it first came out that it was going to be PSG against Real Madrid and we were having the conversation, the one thing that I kept bringing up, and I thought it was important to realize, is that PSG hadn't faced any negativity. Yeah. Everything had been beautiful for PSG this season. Everything had been ideal. And Mbappe scoring goal, and Neymar scoring goals, and Cavani, and everybody felt so good about PSG. In this particular tie, when you look overall, they face that negativity. They face something that they hadn't faced before. And oh, by the way, it is Real Madrid. And we didn't see a reaction from them. And so then it goes back to this group of players that have now failed time and time and time again in Champions League. How do they overcome adversity? And they weren't able to do so today. Whether it's with Neymar or without Neymar, this team today was not going to beat Real Madrid. Not on the performance individually and as a group, and on the mistakes that you're talking about. And I go back to in the second goal by Casemiro, Javier Pastore, who comes on as a substitute, loses the ball, then tracks the play at a slow jog. Walks into his own 18-yard box, and it is Casemiro who has run past him in order to score this goal. Yes, it's a missed clearance by Rabiot, but you look at the effort by Pastore, and that gives you a picture of what PSG was in this second game.
And by the way, we can talk about, well, I don't even want to talk about Neymar because he's not there, and he spent half the season balancing boots on his head in the French league, because that's some sort of circus for PSG. But this ain't the circus. Yeah. It's the big boys' rules here. Real Madrid were nowhere near full strength. I know Vasquez and Asensio have done well recently. I know Asensio at the start of the season, he was hoping he was going to get more game time. It hasn't quite worked out. But when you've got Kroos and Modric on the bench, and I know they've had injuries, then it's hardly Zinedine Zidane's preferred first 11.
Sure.
Yet PSG, this kind of self-anointed best team in Europe at the start of the season by some in Paris, have fallen way short. I mean, I think it's a huge blow for anybody looking to punch a hole into the real guys that have been winning it or been in the final year in, year out. We talked about PSG, we talk about Man City, the new guys in the block. They've got to prove themselves. Man City are going to have to do it. PSG failed.
If you rewind to September, when PSG beat Bayern at home, they looked really good, didn't they? Yeah. I think we were talking about them. They were the best team.
Yeah, but Bayern were struggling then. Mm-hmm. Ancelotti was under pressure.
Even having said that, they were superb. They were excellent. They were super throughout the rest of the campaign. How have they dropped off so much? Was it just the quality of the opposition? Is that the way to say it?
Let's not forget that when the first game against Real Madrid was coming up, there were quotes by Neymar saying, "I can't wait to play Real Madrid."
Yeah.
And we're so excited about this. We're looking forward to this. And it's like, careful. We were talking about it during the game that Real Madrid is like a bad guy in a horror movie. You have to kill him and stab him, make sure they're dead, and kill him again and shoot him again and run over him. And they did not do that at the Bernabeu. And when you allow a team that has the talent like Real Madrid to just hang around the way that they did at the Bernabeu, then you put yourself in trouble. And it's exactly what happened here with PSG and Real Madrid. They thought that they were better than Real Madrid, and they might have been over long stretches in that first game. But you let this team hang around, and they have enough quality to hurt you. PSG, for as good as they have been, when you play against a real team like it is for Real Madrid, then be careful.
How much is the French league handicapping PSG? Like Ali says, you don't get any negativity. You get tested for the first time, really, and it's against Real Madrid in the knockout
Well,
stages.
what I would say is that, I suppose there's been two of them at times, and now we've got Atletico Madrid, and some others. But there has been periods where Barca or Real Madrid have been successful, and they've been shellacking most teams in Spain. Maybe it's not happening right at this moment, but it has happened before. So it hasn't always been a hurdle for them. So maybe I don't know if it's maybe just a ready-made excuse for them or not, because I've seen Barcelona and Real Madrid at any given time wiping the floor with everybody in Spain and then winning the Champions League. Yeah. So it's worked for them.
Yeah, look, for me, that's just too easy a note for PSG. You know you're going to be dominating the French league just by virtue of your spending and who you have at your disposal. Manchester City are running away with the Premier League. Bayern Munich have been running away with the Bundesliga for years on end. Yet still, I suspect that we'll be having a totally different discussion about them after their second legs. Now, the thing for me is, in September, as you mentioned, everything's going for PSG. You sign Mbappe, you sign Neymar, everything's great. As Craig points out, people are balancing boots on their head and all sorts. Now, this is where you have to be judged. And this is not about getting to the group stage. This is not about Carlo Ancelotti's Bayern Munich, because let's remember, Jupp Heynckes' Bayern Munich beat PSG. That should have been a wake-up call. Yet still it wasn't heeded. And you see a very poor performance over 2 legs from PSG when so much more was expected.
What should their expectations be?
Where they are now, quarter-final.
Right.
I mean, I know the draw has fallen their way, to be honest with you. The group stage was a good one for them. This was a good draw for them, although I thought it was going to be more difficult in Porto. Winning 5 over there is an astonishing result. I mean, it really is. If they draw one of the real big boys in the next round, I think that will be enough for them. So, and I don't think there's too many expectations to go much further than that.
Let's talk the English team. City, I think, is a given as the best. Liverpool second in that? Ahead of United and Spurs, say they both go through?
I'm not so sure.
Who have you got ahead of them?
Again, I'm not so sure.
Right, good, Shaq.
I think United's ability to drag out a stalemate and play the way that he does might give them slightly more chance to go through. Liverpool's flair game could be exciting, but I think that's going to leave them a little bit exposed against the top 4 or 5 in Europe. So I think United, in my opinion, would probably have the slightly better chance of going further because of their defensive shape that we know Mourinho uses.
And you know Mourinho and his experience. But in all honesty, and there's not a lot between these in terms of the league table, and why I say I'm uncertain, do you think Liverpool can go to Turin and get a 2-2 draw? I'm not so sure. So even though, again, maybe you could see Liverpool.
What are you sure about?
I'm not sure about who's second. Who's the second best English team left in the Champions
Forgot
League?
about Spurs. I didn't forget about them there.
There you go. All right, let's cut Shaka off, shall we, Ali?
Please.
He's not so sure.
Should have done that about 10 minutes ago.
For example, if I had my Real Madrid hat on,
Yes.
I would much...
What do you mean if?
I would much prefer to play against Manchester United than Liverpool in the quarterfinals.
I can see why, because defensively you have issues, assuming that you're still with Real Madrid hats on. But you also know that Liverpool has their own defensive issues. So it would be, in my opinion, far more difficult to beat a well-organized Manchester United team, frustrating Manchester United team, than it would be a wide-open Liverpool.
Welcome into extra time. Obviously, PSG, Real Madrid, the big talking point during the show today, and a lot of you might be thinking, I really wanted to know the opinion of Gab Marcotti.
I did.
He was due to go on. Unfortunately, technical issues at his house.
You having issues now?
And he got a technician in.
You got a technician in. Oh, I can't even talk. Goodness me, this Real Madrid excitement's got to me. Gab, what would you like to say?
Well, I think things are going to look pretty tough about regarding PSG now. Actually, first, what I want to say is I'm delighted to be with you guys after having tried to fix this machine.
And what was the
for the last hour and a half or so?
What was the technical difficulties, Gabriele? Do we know?
Yeah, well, there was an issue with the flux capacitor, which required B matrix servicing. I have no idea. I kept rebooting it. I kept switching it off and on again, and now it's working.
Victor asks, is it time for Emery to go to the beach and wear Speedos?
Oh, goodness.
I think Emery is the least of Paris Saint-Germain's concern. Getting knocked out now, as opposed to, say, reaching the final, is going to cause a shortfall of anywhere from, well, certainly 30 million odd in prize money alone, plus gates, plus hospitality, plus sponsorship opportunities, commercial revenue, and all of that, and I know Craig doesn't want to hear this, is going to end up in the financial fair play account. So this is going to be a huge test, I think, for UEFA's resolve, whether they're going to act on this. And remember, they can't do it until the books close on this season. They can't do it until after June 1st. But it is a massive, massive blow. But as far as Emery's concerned, I'd be shocked if you see him again in Paris.
Well,
I'd be shocked if he's there tomorrow.
Yeah, financial fair play is very important, but at the top of my list today, I have to pen a personal apology to Arsene Wenger.
Oh, well, how do we get to Wenger?
Partly because on yesterday's extra time, I may have suggested that he enjoys some retirement.
Yeah.
And I've got a spare set of golf clubs that I haven't put on eBay yet, because as you boys know, I put everything on it.
Yes.
Golf clubs. And somebody found this very disrespectful to Arsene Wenger.
Was it the fact you said he should put on his Speedos and then come and join?
Well, I didn't say he should put on his Speedos and go and play golf.
I mean, put on the Speedos.
I know we dress a bit funny on the golf course these days, but that's pushing it a bit. Anyway, somebody found this disrespectful to Arsene Wenger. Golf clubs. I mean, how sad are some people?
I don't know, but at least you've apologised to them now.
So they're fine. They're much happier.
And I tell you what, it was heartfelt.
Good.
And I hope nobody's offended about what I said yesterday.
Okay. We'll talk about Real Madrid in a moment and how they just seem to get it done once again in the Champions League. But the big talking point here surely has to be PSG.
Yeah, stuffed me.
Well, this was it.
But I don't think thinking they had a chance. The Moneybags team with this experience, I don't think thinking they had a chance was some stupid idea. But they've got to play. They've got to actually show up. I mean, they played better in the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
Apart from the final third, obviously, but they played. They dominated midfield over there. I just had no confidence in them tonight in the game. Add that to the fact Verratti gets sent off. Add that to the fact when you get a good chance, Mbappe doesn't square it, do the basics, then you're exposed at the back. I just never felt on tonight's performance that they looked as if they were going to get the goals.
Is it as simple as if they had Neymar, this would be different?
No, I think if you're playing Real Madrid in the Champions League, you've got to be better. You cannot afford the mistakes that PSG made. Now, you could point to Neymar absence and say a bit bad luck in that regard, but you don't give the ball away in midfield like you did Dani Alves. You're not as poor with a clearance as Rabiot was for their second goal. When you're staring down, when you're right in front of Keylor Navas and Cavani is in front of his man, you don't go for the shot. Those are just mistakes that you cannot afford to make against this Real Madrid side, or you get punished.
When it first came out that it was going to be PSG against Real Madrid and we were having the conversation, the one thing that I kept bringing up, and I thought it was important to realize, is that PSG hadn't faced any negativity. Yeah. Everything had been beautiful for PSG this season. Everything had been ideal. And Mbappe scoring goal, and Neymar scoring goals, and Cavani, and everybody felt so good about PSG. In this particular tie, when you look overall, they face that negativity. They face something that they hadn't faced before. And oh, by the way, it is Real Madrid. And we didn't see a reaction from them. And so then it goes back to this group of players that have now failed time and time and time again in Champions League. How do they overcome adversity? And they weren't able to do so today. Whether it's with Neymar or without Neymar, this team today was not going to beat Real Madrid. Not on the performance individually and as a group, and on the mistakes that you're talking about. And I go back to in the second goal by Casemiro, Javier Pastore, who comes on as a substitute, loses the ball, then tracks the play at a slow jog. walks into his own 18-yard box, and it is Casemiro who has run past him in order to score this goal. Yes, it's a missed clearance by Rabiot, but you look at the effort by Pastore, and that gives you a picture of what PSG was in this second game.
And by the way, we can talk about, well, I don't even want to talk about Neymar because he's not there, and he spent half the season balancing boots on his head in the French league, because that's some sort of circus for PSG. But this ain't the circus. Yeah. It's the big boys rules here. Real Madrid were nowhere near full strength.
Right, Gab, who's going to be the next coach?
I think they need to figure it out. I can tell you, though, the profile of the next coach.
No, I want the name.
I think they want somebody with
£210. That rules Brendan Rodgers out.
I think they want somebody with a big personality and who they consider proven. They thought outside the box with Emery. I just wonder if maybe the current coach of Chelsea decides to go and part ways with the club at the end of the season, or the club kick him out on his backside, whether he might not recycle himself there. Because you know what? That's one of the few clubs I think at this stage Conte could realistically go to, if they want it.
Well, that's it. Can we go now, producer? Have we done enough? I think so. That is it.
There's no Speedo chat tomorrow, is there?
There's snow tomorrow.
Great.
Oh.
Perfect for Speedos.
Everyone, it's the same lineup, isn't it, tomorrow?
Yeah.
Where's Steve Nicol?
He's lying somewhere.
Definitely not in Speedos. We're on a bit late at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN News.
Manchester United had, I don't know if I want to call it stunning come-from-behind win against Crystal Palace yesterday. It was somewhat stunning. Shaka Hislop is here with me, so you'd think that they'd get some praises, but not one person. Paul Pogba, Shaka. Now, we know that we have criticized him, but Gary Neville has some strong words to say about him and his performance. He says his great weakness is that he plays like he's in the park with his mates. He's not serious. It's almost like a joke to him, like he's doing it for social media.
Look, I get the criticism around Paul Pogba, but I'm not having this. And Paul Pogba's great with weakness is the team he's playing in, and more to the point, where he's playing in that team. Now, let's remember, 2015, Paul Pogba played in the Champions League final with Juventus, alongside the likes of Marquisio, Vidal, and Pirlo. Now, all of a sudden, 3 years later, he can't get into the Manchester United team, being left out with the greatest respect for Scott McTominay. That doesn't make any sense to me. He didn't become a bad player overnight. Now, for me, and as much as I mentioned his role in that Juventus midfield, he wasn't a passenger. He wasn't let's throw him in type. He was a key part to that Juventus midfield. He was a key part playing on the left-hand side of that Juventus midfield, a midfield that Andrea Pirlo dictated and pulled the strings. Now, he comes to Old Trafford and Manchester United, and given the price, you understand, given his physical abilities, given how good he is on the ball, maybe you want and you hope that he kind of plays that Pirlo role, maybe even a little bit better for Manchester United, that he dictates the game, he controls the game. But maybe, not maybe, he's not that type of player. And we've seen
he's
that.
Out of position.
He's play Paul Pogba in the position that made you spend 100 million on him. And that's the left-hand side of midfield. You now need to have somebody to come in and dictate, somebody to pull the strings in that midfield, as Juan Mata did when he came on the park for Manchester United against Crystal Palace. But stop expecting him to be something that he's not. And the only fault I have with Paul Pogba, if you want to call it that, is his personality. Because Gary Neville knows, if you try to play Roy Keane left-hand side of midfield or as a right wing or right wing back, Sir Alex Ferguson would have needed a new office door every single Monday morning. But Paul Pogba, he wouldn't be having it. But Paul Pogba is trying his best to play in the role that Jose Mourinho has asked him to. No, he can't. But he's
lack of chemistry in the squad, because that's what they're highlighted.
Quite possibly so. I think there's a lack of personalities. There's a lack of leadership on the park, and maybe a lack of quality in the players who can be that leader. Had Paul Pogba been playing in this exact team, this exact midfield, with a Michael Carrick maybe 8 or 9 years ago, I think you'd have seen a different Paul Pogba. You'd have seen a different Manchester United. But they don't have that player. They don't have a Michael Carrick of 8 years ago. And Paul Pogba isn't that player either. So now you can criticize Paul Pogba all you want, or you play him in the position that made you recognize him as a £100 million player. But you can't have your cake and eat it at the same time and then blame Paul Pogba for not being able to do that.
Of course, not often you see Xhaka Hislop go to lengths to defend a Manchester United player. Everyone on Twitter will be shocked, but he's done it. So Gary Neville, we hear you, but Xhaka says, give Pogba a break, man. He's not in the right position. The Europa League is never easy to predict, but it is getting down to the business end. And Xhaka Hislop is joining me for this edition of Europa League Predictor. Xhaka, let's start off with the more juicier fixture of the lot, I would say at least. AC Milan up against Arsenal. Two clubs that know their fair share of struggle, but one needs a turnaround more than the other.
Yeah, but both these clubs trending in entirely different directions.
Yes.
Arsenal, we talk about their frustrations week in, week out. Milan under Gattuso have suddenly turned the corner. All the stats point to a Milan win, particularly at home. Undefeated in their last 13, clean sheets in the last 6, one home defeat in European competition in the last 20 at home. Sorry, Arsenal, this Thursday is not going to be your day.
I agree. I think both of them definitely know their fair share of struggles, as we've said. But AC Milan look like they have the presence, they have the leadership, they have those characters. Arsenal, not so much. They can't really even look to their manager right now for that leadership they need. So I'm going to go with AC Milan for this first leg. Atletico Madrid, oh, what a shocker at the weekend. A bit stale of a game, but they're up against Lokomotiv Moscow, and Shaka's just going with Atleti.
I think Atleti are going to win the whole thing. So
Europa League or just this tie?
Europa League. So no surprise, I'm going to go for them to win, especially at home.
Well, La Liga's gone away from them, that's for sure. At least the title race has
The
as well.
second!
Xhaka, 8 points now. Come on.
It's Barcelona the second! Don't make it sound, you're making it sound worse than it is.
La Liga's over for them, so I think they're definitely going to put all their eggs in the Europa League basket. Dortmund against Salzburg.
Dortmund, one of the tournament's favourites. I think they get the better of Salzburg, despite their own inconsistencies. Yeah, at home.
Yep. Dortmund at home, I'm going to go with them as well. No draws. We're agreeing on everything now. Let's see if we can disagree somewhere. Lazio up against Dynamo Kiev.
Frustrating weekend for Lazio against Juventus, conceding so late. I think they bounce back. They beat Kiev at home.
Yeah, I was going to go with Lazio too, Xhaka, and I guess I'm just going to have to as well. But this one, we will disagree. I'm going to go for a draw here with CSKA Moscow against Olympique Lyon, just because Moscow's never an easy place to play, Xhaka.
Yeah.
We know that much.
Just ask Lyon. They've never won. They've never won in Russia. Moscow have started the year pretty well, having even conceded only 3 games so far in 2018. At home, I think they get the job done. Maybe Lyon get their own in the second leg. I'll leave you in suspense about that. But the first leg, I'm going for CSKA.
I'm going to sit on the fence and go with a draw. So at least we disagree on one, Xhaka.
That's where I win.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. There's still a second leg. Thanks so much to Xhaka Hislop. Make sure to track everything from the Europa League right here at ESPNFC.com. Transferata is back with a bang. Xhaka Hislop is here. He's getting ready to tackle them. Xhaka, let's start off with Eden Hazard. What a sticky situation at Chelsea. He did not look happy in that last game against Man City. So is a move to Real Madrid on the cards?
I think so. Hazard has cut a more and more frustrated figure over the last few seasons, despite their success at Chelsea. But you could just tell on his face that it's not. He's not happy and things aren't clicking.
Too much uncertainty.
Absolutely, and I expect to move, and Real Madrid as likely a destination as any for somebody of his talents.
So that is a big hit all around. Hector Bellerin to Barcelona from Arsenal.
Yeah, this is one that's been around for the last couple of years. I'm going to put this down as a hit. I feel Bellerin needs to go. I feel Arsenal needs a refreshing. Bellerin, one of the players they could get money for. And as good as Sergio Roberto has been for Barca on the right-hand side, I think Bellerin is an upgrade on that. Fuller pace, maybe not the best defensively, but then you could almost say that about everybody in Barcelona's back four.
Yep.
Yet, they have the second best defensive record in La Liga. So I don't see that as a departure in that regard.
Jorginho, now, you would think that Manchester City don't need that many reinforcements, but that's what keeps a team at the top, isn't it? So would Jorginho be a good fit?
Yes, but at the money we're talking about, some saying 60 million, you just wonder, do City need another midfielder to sit in front of their back four? I'm going to put this down as a miss. Let's be honest, it's quite within their possibilities of signing a player just to bolster the squad, even at 60 million. But to me, it doesn't make sense.
Monaco lost a lot of big names last transfer window. Now it seems that they're targeting Andre Silva from AC Milan. Good fit?
I'm a little bit uncertain on this one. 22 years old. I think the issue you see, Falcao leading the goal scoring for Monaco, Balde as well, playing a good supporting role. But he hasn't scored for AC Milan, and Sydney out of favour. It's a cheap option, young option, but I'm going to put this down as a miss simply because I don't feel there's enough to go on.
Finally, brace yourselves. The one that we have all been asking for how many years now? Shaka Hissab. We're going to let you take a crack at it. Arsene Wenger to leave Arsenal, because Shaka, how low can you go? And it seems that they've passed rock bottom.
Yeah, I'm going to put this down as a hit, even though I know we may be doing this and putting it down as a hit for another 21 years. But you know how I feel about it.
Go, Wenger, go. I don't think he wants to do the Shaka. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, we'll see. Europa League, he says that he can turn things around. We've got a big fixture this week. We'll see if that indeed happens. Thanks so much to Shaka Hissab. Continue tracking all of these transfer rumors here at ESPNFC.com.